Alder might be the strangest champion Pokemon has ever written. This man is out here fighting Pokemon with his bare hands, falling asleep mid-battle while standing, hitting on every Nurse Joy, Officer Jenny, and even Cynthia. Somehow he's the champion of an entire region. The title, the hair, the necklace, it all checks out. People call him a paper champion because he doesn't care about winning or losing. And yeah, he did get folded by N off-screen and left begging for mercy the first time we saw him battle. But that's because Alder isn't trying to prove he's the strongest. He already tried that. And it cost him. That smile hides endless tears shed for his first partner, his strongest Pokemon, who succumbed to illness. And that loss completely changed him. That's why he wonders, doesn't chase victories, and cares more about people growing than battles ending. He's trying to make sure the next generation doesn't lose the same way he did. It's too bad we only saw one of his Pokemon in action, but that's all he needed to leave Trip rethinking his personality after calling him a fake champion. Alder was the champion of the Unova region, but calling him a champion feels a bit misleading. He's not the kind of trainer sitting at the top waiting to defend his title. He's usually halfway across the region, barefoot, jumping off ridiculously high cliffs, and giving life advice to a trainer he met 5 minutes ago. Because Alder isn't defined by his title, he's defined by what came after. His past is what shaped him into something different. Alder was deeply affected by the loss of his partner Pokemon Volcarona, a creature revered in Unova almost like a sun deity. Instead of clinging to power, Alder let go of it. He became a wanderer, traveling the region not to prove strength, but to understand something much bigger, how people and Pokemon actually live together. Visually, Alder looks exactly like the kind of man who would abandon a throne to go on a spiritual road trip. Tall, powerfully built, with flaming red hair tied into a wild, spiked ponytail. A design clearly inspired by Volcarona's wings, all that fiery orange sweeping backward like it's permanently caught in the wind. He looks like someone who once arm wrestled a mountain and won, or at least claims he did. He also carries 9 Pokeballs, 6 around his neck, 3 on the belt, which either means he refuses to leave any of his Pokemon behind, or this old-timer still hasn't figured out how to use the PC system. Even his name reflects his story. Alder comes from the Alder tree, a symbol of resilience, renewal, and quiet strength. A plant that survives harsh conditions, adapts, and keeps growing. The name isn't just fitting, it is the arc. His Japanese name, Adaku, references the boxleaf eugenia, a plant tied to moth larvae, subtly linking back to Volcarona. Even in naming, his story never really leaves that connection behind. Alder represents life after achievement. He reminds us that becoming champion isn't the end of the story, it's just the moment where you decide what kind of person you're going to be next. In the Pokemon Black and White anime, Trip is busy mouthing off to Ash, thinking he's an important character like Paul or Gary, and mentions his desire to face Alder. Trip met and spoke to Alder as a kid, who inspired him to train with the hopes of battling the champion one day. Yeah right, dream on, fake Paul. Meanwhile, Ash didn't even know that Unova had a champion, and you guys say Cameron is dumb. Ash and Trip later meet Alder in the flesh, and he's hitting on Officer Jenny, until she threatens to handcuff him, but honestly, he'd probably love that. He calls them Ashton and Tristan, already off to a great start, and offers to 1v2 them like an absolute menace, and that's a double KO right there. Trip refuses, so Ash steps up. Pikachu vs Bouffalante begins, except Alder doesn't give a single command. Pikachu is unloading Thunderbolt, Quick Attack, everything, and the kitchen sink, and Bouffalante is just tanking it. Everyone's trying to figure out Alder's 5D chess strategy. Is this endurance training, mind games, aura farming, or subscribing to my channel, which is what you should do if you've been enjoying the video so far. We smashed our last goal of 1,500 subs by the end of the month, so let's extend it to 1,550 and 100 likes. Thank you all for the support. Bouffalante gets mad after being used as a punching bag and stomps at Alder, which wakes him up. Yeah, he fell asleep, standing up mid-battle. He finally calls for Bouffalante to use Head Charge, and after a 1-second delay, Alder spanks him, telling him to stop sleeping on the job. It goes flying in with Head Charge, about to send Pikachu to a land not known by Pokemon, until it makes a U-turn and smackles Alder instead. Alder is unable to battle, and Ash is declared the winner. Wow, Ash fluked another win. I'm so surprised. Alder cancels the battle with Trip because he's hungry, denies the advice about getting stronger he gave Kid Trip all those years ago, and Trip has lost all respect for this paper champ. They go to the Pokemon Center, and Alder's hitting on Nurse Joy this time and creeping her out. When getting stronger is brought up in the conversation, Alder shuts it down immediately, clearly not a fan of that mindset. Then a Gigalith goes on a rampage. The all-powerful Unova champion is finally going to pull out the stunts and offers Gigalith an apple before getting his bell dinged by a headbutt. His redemption arc is looking shaky. Officer Jenny is sick of Alder's shenanigans and tells Herdier to attack, while Bouffalante Bupalon steps in and little bros Herdia, like, we don't do it like that around here, we like to waste time, and Alder locks in. When it tries to headbutt him again, he just tosses it 500 meters in the air and spikes it on its head. He did it on purpose as he noticed the nail stuck in its foot, causing pain and aggressive behavior, but you have to admit that slam felt personal. Alder removes the nail and gives it a potion and some food, in the process befriending it. This reminds me a lot of Bruno saving that onyx from the sand slash wedged in its body. Alder finally explains his philosophy. Being a top trainer isn't about strength alone, it's understanding, connection, and harmony, which explains why Trip's "I want to be stronger" speeches were giving him a headache. Fast forward to the Pokemon World Tournament Junior Cup Alder is hosting, but immediately offers to throw it all away if Cynthia goes to lunch with him, to which she replies that he'll be dining alone as usual. That was diabolical, but Alder caught the rebound and shot again by asking her out to coffee, only for it to be an airball. Trip pops up like a disappointed stepson, like, "You're not my real dad," and calls him a fake champion. The exhibition match begins, and we have Cynthia versus Caitlyn. Alder's watching like, "That should be me in there with Cynthia, and we should be wrestling in mud," probably. During the actual matches, Trip is running through the competition and even looks up at Alder spectating and says he's going to run through Alder too. Alder went from childhood hero to villain in the blink of an eye. He gets mad just looking at Alder doing nothing, but I guess that's half the problem. Trip ends up winning, accepts the trophy from Alder, who congratulates him and states he himself is looking forward to their battle. Trip has that look that says, "I'm gonna roll this guy up and smoke him like a doobie." And now's the time for him to put his money where his mouth is. Bupalon faces off with Serperior and tanks a Solar Beam because it has Sap Sipper and Trip's already done. He follows with the Dragon Tail and Alder's like, "Okay." Next, Trip pulls out his trump card, which is bait an attack from above and come up to power Bupalon straight in the kisser. Oh, it did no damage. Trip is shaking in his little boots after Alder says, "You know I'm a champion, right?" and head charges Serperior into next week. Trip is humbled and asked Alder for advice, and he gives him a life lesson, which basically translates to, "You're just not good enough, bucko, back to the drawing board." The last time Alder is seen in the main series is during the Masters 8 tournament, where Iris is the new Unova champion, and he's watching her battle alongside the Unova crew. After Alder's loss to Ash, who knows how she really got that title, the guy probably retired mid-battle. Pokemon Evolutions shows us what happened in the games. Alder battling the king of Team Plasma, N, Volcarona versus Zekrom. And this is the more serious Alder we love to see. He's actually holding his own, but ultimately the king wins and stands over the champion. In Pokemon Black and White, after getting the Bolt Badge from Elisa, you head to Route 5 and do what you do best. Absolutely smoke Cheren again. Standard procedure at this point. But then this random guy shows up, starts flirting with Elisa, and you're thinking, who is this guy? That's Alder, Unova's strongest trainer, and he's out here trying to pull numbers mid-route. Cheren's immediately not impressed. He's like, "This guy is the champion? Give me a break." And Alder snaps back, calling him judgmental, and they properly introduce themselves. Alder then asks Cheren what his goal is. Cheren says to become champion, and Alder hits him with, "Okay, and then what?" And Cheren just blue screens, because up until now his entire personality has been strength equals everything. Alder then drops some wisdom, saying that strength isn't the only thing that matters. Since he spent his life helping people understand and love Pokemon too, he wants to teach this lesson by making you fight some children, bare knuckle, with Pokemon. Apparently this is supposed to teach Cheren that being a Pokemon master is more than just winning battles. Whether Cheren actually learns anything is debatable. Later on, you run into Cheren again, beat him again, and Alder shows up by jumping off a cliff like his knees are made of reinforced steel. Cheren starts whining about how he lost, so Alder tells him to get bent, gives you surf, and leaves. I'm less concerned about Team Plasma and more about this man's bone density. When N awakens Zekrom, Alder is right there with the crew. He explains how Zekrom devastated Unova in the past and could do it again, and the only way to stop him is to awaken Reshiram. And thanks to his wandering experience, Alder points you toward the Relic Castle to find the Light Stone. When you get there, it's the wrong place. You find Alder and Ghetsis. Ghetsis threatens to take every Pokemon and release them all, and Alder argues back, saying that's not what Pokemon truly want. So Ghetsis decides to just emotionally destroy him instead. He brings up Alder's fallen Pokemon, says he abandoned his duties as champion, and calls him weak. Alder tries to fight back, saying he'll stop Team Plasma with everything he has, but Ghetsis shuts it down immediately, saying N has no interest in the champion because victory is already guaranteed, and tells him not to even show up to battle. Honestly, we can see it. The stress, the trauma, the doubt, it's all hitting at once. Alder isn't just fighting Team Plasma, he's also fighting an internal battle. battle. Later, when you get the Lightstone, Alder even tells you to be ready in case something happens to him. And in Opelucid City, Iris points out that he's clearly not okay. Finally, you go through the league, climb what feels like 17,000 flights of stairs, and finally reach the champion, only to find Alder already defeated by N off screen. The champion lost before you even got there. N even says Alder was a shell of his former self and stood no chance, which means whatever happened in that battle was probably not pretty. Alder's on his knees begging N to stop, clearly broken, saying his bond with his Pokemon wasn't enough. And yeah, it's tough, not exactly champion behavior, but also this man just got emotionally dismantled and then had to fight a legendary dragon? Give him a minute. Luckily you show up in full plot armor, beat N and Ghetsis, and Alder immediately switches back into authority mode and arrests Ghetsis, because battling him would have left him in the gutter again. In the post-game you can finally battle Alder, and this is where you realize this is the champion. All his Pokemon are level 75 with his ace at 77. Accelgor outspeeds everything. I'm convinced this thing moves before the battle even starts. Watch out for Focus Blast if you think you're being clever with rock types. Boufflant is the heavy hitter, no move under 100 base power, head charge will hurt. And Stone Edge, it might miss, but if it doesn't, you're finished. Druddigon, the ugliest dragon in all of history, but still kind of cool, but it's not going to give you any problems. Vanillux, not really sure why it's here. Escavalier, my boy, slow sizzle but hits like a truck. Do not underestimate this guy. And finally, his ace Volcarona. This one is the problem. Overheat, Bug Buzz, Hyper Beam, and the dreaded Quiver Dance. If it gets one Quiver Dance, pack it up, turn off the DS. A funny strategy is to bring grass types as fodder so it spams Overheat and nukes its own special attack. Otherwise, yeah, you might just get swept, which totally didn't happen to me, so don't ask. This battle is genuinely tough, but slightly held back by weird typing choices and movesets. At the end of the day, Bug is still Bug, and Pokemon like Vanillux and Druddigon don't really have a place anywhere. If you do want to be scummy for this battle, set up Stealth Rock and watch Volcarona lose half its health before it even clocks in for its shift. In Black and White 2, Alder returns and immediately jumps off another cliff, which confirms what we've all been thinking. Gravity doesn't apply to him. He helps guide the new generation, and after becoming champion, you can battle him at his house. This time his team is level 60 to 62, and thankfully he drops Druddigon and Vanillux for Braviary and Kyurem, just kidding, Conkeldurr. Same idea as before, but with better movesets like Heat Wave and Psychic on Volcarona, and overall a much cleaner team. Alder's strongest team appears in the Pokemon World Tournament, and this one is stacked. Volcarona, a Quiver Dance menace, Life Orb Conkeldurr from Marshall, Choice Band Braviary, Double Screens and Toxic Reuniclus from Caitlyn, Crocodile from Grimsley, and Choice Scarf Chandelier with insane coverage from Shauna. This team is basically what if the Unova Elite Four became one person. Each Pokemon feels like it represents a member of Unova's Elite Four, making his presence feel complete. That said, he's still one of the weaker champions in the tournament, but if Volcarona had a Focus Sash, this fight would be one to avoid. A nice touch from the games is that Black and White revealed Alder had lost a Pokemon to illness, while Black and White 2 quietly confirmed that it was a Volcarona. During the tournament, the announcer even tells him to keep memories of his Volcarona close, and after the tournament in the lobby, Alder congratulates you and says, "The spirit of my first partner Larvesta, no, Volcarona, lives on in my current partners too," which implies something really sad. It likely passed away not long after evolving. In Pokemon Adventures, Alder gets the Crisis version, the man in motion during an active war, doing what Wandering champions do when Wandering isn't an option anymore. Alder first appears in Black's imagination as the ultimate goal, the champion he wants to defeat. Classic setup, big boss energy. Later on, Alder meets Marshall, who calls him Master, and they casually decide to test their strength on a moving battle subway, because normal battlefields are for cowards, of course. This is just as crazy as Pokemon card games on motorcycles. Alder uses Accelgor versus Marshall's Mienshao. Accelgor's otherworldly speed is a huge problem, until Mienshao manages to use its dangling fur with a hint of craftiness to grab Accelgor. Suddenly, the spectators declare Alder the winner, and this is looking like some kind of fixed BS because we all just saw Accelgor get snatched up. Well, if you had your slow-mo goggles on, then you'd obviously have seen that Accelgor spat a drop of acid on Mienshao. Any high volume would have melted its face off, but it's a good sport, so it just melted melted its neck a little bit. They reveal that it's on site between the student-master duo, and Marshall's record in these battles is 2 wins. Not bad against the champion, right? And 1,076 losses. Wow, talk about a punching bag. Alder's annoyed the mayor didn't turn up for their scheduled meeting, gets bored, and goes outside to play with Pokemon. It's kind of sweet seeing the side of Alder wrestling with Bouffalant and getting blasted by a head charge. Some things never change. And tussling with Garbodor. It's clear when he's surrounded by wild Pokemon that he exerts serious positive energy that attracts other Pokemon. After this, Alder returns to talk to the mayor, but he just misses him, and his excuse is that he was on a spiritual journey. This guy does not give a single banger, does he? After that, Alder tells Marshall he's leaving the Elite Four in charge of the Pokemon League because he's bored and ready to retire. As they're walking, he tells Marshall about how Unova came to be and how 2 heroic brothers couldn't agree on whether ideals or the truth was more important. So their Pokemon split into 2, one to satisfy each. The younger brother left with a black dragon we know as Zekrom, who is standing right in front of them, accompanied by N, who was waiting for them. N calls Alder a fake champion, and while Marshall tries to defend his master, Alder kind of agrees. They get down and dirty with a 4 versus 4 double battle, starting with Alder's Bouffalant and Escavalier versus N's Archeops and Darmanitan. Bouffalant head charges Darmanitan 3 blocks down the road, only for it to come back in Zen mode and throw Bouffalant around with psychic moves that weren't even commanded by N. Meanwhile, Escavalier is whipping every hit under the sun against Archeops, and goes screw this and switches over to double team fat stuck in the mud Zen mode Darmanitan for a hasty KO. Alder questions N on his affiliation with Team Plasma and their involvement in the Unova gym leader's disappearance. N responds with that crazy anime villain face that they have once they've lost a few screws and says he's the king of Team Plasma and also a hero. He uses the power of fast forwarding the plot, and suddenly Alder is down 3-1 and laid out on the ground. When he gets up, he blames it on old age and that meddling Zorua. He gets straight back into the fight with his last Pokemon Excelgor, who melts Archeops in 1 hit. It's great melting Archeops' flesh off the bone and all, but where the hell is Volcarona? Now he's down 3-2, and N's about to send out his last Pokemon, the fearsome, spectacular, legendary behemoth Tepig. And with some Zorua illusion trickery, they barbecue Excelgor and Alder with a nasty fire attack. That's it, N beat Alder without the use of Zekrom. Seriously though, whoever thought of including this was mad disrespectful to the champion. After Alder's defeat, he disappears, and the Pokemon League tournament is hosted without a champion. Kind of like the games, except we had to battle N and Ghetsis. Yep, we had the tough route. Alder's absence is powerful, and his loss is the talk of the town. 2 years later, in Black and White 2, Alder, Iris, and Sage Gorm break out of the White Tree Hollow after Team Plasma's frigate attack, and Alder says he's going to settle the score with Team Plasma. Oh yeah. And then he doesn't. But he does watch N get smacked in the face, so I guess that's something? At the end of the Black and White manga, before everyone parts ways, we learn the truth. N realized something was off in their battle. Alder wasn't fighting properly, making decisions a person who really wants to win would never make, and Alder admits it. He hesitated on purpose. Team Plasma's ideology got to him. He started questioning whether humans should control Pokemon at all. Because after his original Volcarona died, Team Plasma weaponized the media, spreading propaganda that Alder's partner died due to neglect. That hit him hard. Alder, the man who N knew could understand Pokemon better than anyone, began to doubt himself, his bond, and his role. So when he faced N, he wasn't fighting at full conviction. Hesitation cost him everything, which raises a few questions. If Alder had fought seriously, would N have needed Zekrom? And if Alder still had his original Volcarona, could he have given Zekrom a run for his money? That's the kind of what-if that makes this arc hit so hard. The graduation continues with peace restored and Alder back to normal. Just what we love to see. He needed this break. Thanks for watching everyone. If you made it this far, you are the true champion. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Which Alder was your favorite? Leave a comment which one and why. For me, the game's Alder takes it due to his presence, although I did appreciate the comedic value in the anime. See you all in the next one.